We are extremely close to the launch of Monster Hunter Wilds, or perhaps even past the launch of Monster Hunter Wilds, which means my life is now exclusively dedicated to Monster Hunter Wilds for the next several weeks or the foreseeable future. But in order to get there, we also have to look at where we've been before. And we're going to do that by celebrating the fantastic music of Monster Hunter as a series. So we're going to go through a bunch of different themes. Let's have some fun. Today, we're starting with Kokoto Village from Monster Hunter Generations. Wow. Let's just stop. I mean, I have to stop just for like a couple seconds to just talk about how expansive that feels. That's a really expansive piece. Like it feels very wide. I have never seen Kokoto Village, but it just feels like a jungle terrain, expansive village where, you know, you've got your hub, you've got all the things you're looking for, the things you need to like go on an expedition or go on a hunt. There's a vastness in that sound quality, even though like it's like a flute. I think part of it's because there's this like gorgeous choir that's doubling underneath, which I think really adds this wonderful layer. It almost feels like a small city, but like with huts and different things like that. It feels very, very, very expansive. And on top of that, you really get the sense that like, I don't want to say it's tranquil, but there's a quality in it that's very placid. But this happens in Rise or in World or Astera. I mean, Astera feels more bustling and more busy, whereas Kokoto Village feels very much like, hey, whoa, you just did something crazy out there. Like, come back. Like, let's just take a second to just like relax. And I think part of that's the warm flute in that sound as well. But again, that choir underneath is just like delicious. It adds such a unique sense of scale, but it does so in a way where like the choir actually bolsters up the rest of the piece, which is really nice. Let me double back on that and just also say that I think partially it's the guitar. The instrumentation is a very natural sound. It's very inviting, like I imagine a waterfall. There's a natural quality in that sound of restfulness, and I think part of that's because of how organic the instrumentation is, if that makes sense. Gorgeous upper register pop up. Nice support there by the lower harmony. Yeah. It's interesting. Essentially, this is a flute solo with a guitar accompaniment with some bass adding emphasis to it. And it does so extremely well. And it just kind of lifts the whole piece up. It really does feel like, almost like the flute represents hunters or like the people of Kokoto Village. Like I mean, the warmth in there is really, really awesome. I mean, a terrific piece and very, 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 again, expansive is the word that comes to mind, but especially the fact that we have the guitar strumming basically the chords and letting the flute kind of do its own thing while then being backed by the, what sounds like lower strings, really would be like cellos or basses, lifting up that flute. It's really, really like, when you look at text, especially lower harmony tends to be like the shadow effect. So you can have regular text, which looks fine, and then you've got the shadow around it, and that really kind of lifts it off the page. It kind of feels like that. But also the percussion is great. delightful percussion in there, very simple percussion. You know, this piece's melody actually reminds me very much of a Rachmaninoff song, To You, Oh My Cornfield, or Oh My Cornfield, I think it's called. It's interesting because that song is really kind of mournful, really like, you know, talking about the farmland and literally blessing like corn. I guess there is probably a melancholic quality in this particular theme as well. I don't know, this feels very warm. Even though the melody itself has a degree of melancholy, but it's mostly, to me, it feels very warm, if that makes sense. Yes, and Fatalis also has that theme, which is interesting. So I don't know why it comes up twice, but I find it really fascinating that Rachmaninoff and like Monster Hunter somehow correlate, but they apparently do in my opera singer brain. God, the vocals underneath, it's just like delicious. And then it resolves. Also, the rhythm itself is so good under here. And a little bit of like, you know, instrumentation that gives it like a real natural quality to the sound. Some real like folk instruments. But then that guitar too. And then there's the shift. It shifts into it seems like major there. And then it shifts again. My God, that is so good. The percussion here really does have a feeling there of workmanship, bustling to a degree, or at the armory, and you're getting your new, you know, at the forge, and you're getting your new armor done. Like there's, you know, fixed up. There's definitely a sound in there of movement. So it's not like it sounds placid. Man, the background vocals though are just amazing. The vocals too are so subtle. I love that. Brilliant. Yum bum bum bum. That's really cool. Wow. And then the strings come in. Wow. I thought this was going to be a loop. Maybe it is, but there's some really interesting variations in here. Man, I'd never heard this piece before. It feels weirdly nostalgic, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you wish you lived there, but also there is a twinge of that melancholy there that really seeps through. It's interesting how it relates to Rachmaninoff, and Rachmaninoff songs tend to be pretty morose. I mean, not all of them, of course. Like, there are some happy Rachmaninoff songs, but in general, Rachmaninoff's music tends to be quite heavy. And I find it interesting that Kokoto Village, and then subsequently Fatalis, knowing what we know about Fatalis's like character and personality, is pretty hardcore. I almost wonder if like Fatalis didn't wipe out Kokoto Village at one point, or its people needed to leave because Fatalis came over and destroyed their and started eating people and whatever. Like, next up is Sleeping Bird in a Sea of Trees from Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Crickets. This is cool. So I'm pretty sure this is the Hypnocatrice theme. I'm looking at this picture, and honestly, like, I don't know if that's what this theme represents, but what's interesting is that I'm hearing like traditional Indian instruments. It sounds like. I can't pinpoint what region of the world those instruments are from. There's a plucking and scratching. You hear it right here. Check this out. So we're going boom, sliding up, and then we're also going, which is the pecking sound. It almost feels like a dance track. It doesn't feel hyper serious, but it does feel like there's almost like a taking turns, a mixing and matching of a duel. So it's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop. It's a very strong rhythm, and I feel like that really leads itself to a momentum of like, you go, I go, you go, you go, I go, I go, you go, you go, I go, I go. You know what I mean? And it's a kind of a hypnotic kind of quality about, well, I guess Hypnocatrice. I didn't do that on purpose. So there is a hypnotic element to it, almost as if like it's trying to put you in a state of trance. And it's actually the one that's like bopping around you to try to get to your front or whatever. Kind of like the way that like a Tsuyaku or something would try to get in front of you to use its high beams to get you kind of caught off guard, right? There's an element of that like feels like it's kind of bounding around. Again, I don't actually know if this is the Hypnocatrice theme, but I find that's the sound quality that feels pretty locked in for me, and kind of surprised me, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be quite so bouncy. So we move out of that phase and into this phase. They're kind of, I think, I'm pretty sure this is a repeat. Boom, bop, boom, ba da da boom, bop, boom. The orchestration gets a little bit bigger, and we get this sense of size, but we also get this sense of bounding, not like in a Kuluyaku way. Wait, did I just? Wait a second. Kuluyaku and Titsiyaku are from the same family? They're both Yakus. Yaku is one of the prefixes for some bird wyverns. And then wait. The other thing that I'd like to point out here is you actually hear some of, again, these instruments. I don't know what region they're derived from, but they actually, now I'm putting everything together. So Hypnocatrice. So that's actually all like you know how like a snake charmer does a sort of sound to like lull the cobra to wake up and kind of bop around and move. It's almost like it's trying to do that to a hunter. Yeah. Because if that's like a Swona or a Peepa or what have you, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's really neat. You know, I was really nervous when I first started listening to Monster Hunter music and really engaging with this aspect of the game, because I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to highlight or pinpoint the individual personalities and characters of these monsters. Because to me, at first, I was like, well, they're all monsters. Like, how do you? But it turns out that each monster is really its own character, and they all kind of have their own. Now, they may all sort of want you dead. I mean, that's kind of a given. But individually, there's also some really interesting subsets of like what they're like, what their personalities are like, what their attacks are like. I think that's really, really, really cool. Monster Hunter and a lot of the FromSoft music is the two series that I really believe if you put them in a symphony hall, no one could tell the difference. Now, a piece like maybe Sleeping Bird in a Sea of Trees could be a little bit finicky because of the instrumentation, but like Proof of a Hero or a lot of like Fatalis' theme, like you could program that side by side with classical music, and I guarantee no one would know the difference. And in fact, they'd be better for experiencing this music. So this is Crimson Fatalis from Frontier G, both phases. So I actually have heard this from one of my patrons, and one of the things that's really, really incredible about this version of Fatalis is how terrifying it is. The constant hammer beats, timpani beats, or percussion beats mixed in with the choral chant. It really feels like it's again, I just watched the extended edition of Lord of the Rings, so there's going to be a lot of Lord of the Rings references. It really does give you the sense of like a Sauron or a real like beckoning or a welcoming of evil. Fatalis is an interesting character because Fatalis thinks. There's a degree of a subconscious there that's not just primal based on like needing to eat and consume. That really feels like it's a calculated like you human there. Oh! Wow, that sounds like Nier so hard. That's crazy. What a fascinating pullback. It's almost like the invocation of an angel of death. Rather than continuing down that spirit and developing further, it actually dials back. And what we're left with is the feeling of like an unholy reverie. Oh, it is Emmy Evans. Ah, so it's Emmy Evans, which makes sense. That's why it sounds like Emmy Evans. Yep. Wow, upper harmony. Nice tremolo build up here. Oh, cool. I mean, the imagery there of destruction and decay and like running, and you see this thing up there in the distance. You're like, oh God, it's the human eater. You know what I mean? And there's a real sense of fear. I also love how we get boom, dum, ba-dum, bum, boom. We're getting vocals, which are the people running, mixed in with the percussion, which is like, I'm looking at this picture, and it really feels like Fatalis is straight up like smiling with joy at this, at its sheer power and its knowledge of its power, and the feeling of just like laying waste to an entire area. But also this smile is cursed as hell. Really, really uncomfortable to stare at. And this is like fire, summoning fire and brimstone. Oh, that's so cool. The lower brass, that really is saying like, oh no, Fatalis is here. This particular version of Fatalis will leave nothing in its wake. That's almost as if to say like, we're lost, we're helpless. This is a desperate moment. So it goes up and then it comes back down, you know? This is actually like a natural crescendo here that's happening. It's almost as if it finally lands. I wonder what prompts that. Like, how do you go from that intensity to then the pulled backness? I'm filming this live, and someone said that it's been said that perhaps it's the sound of a mother whispering to the daughter, like, you know, bear with it, like, you know, do what you can, kind of giving them final rites almost. There's a degree of somberness in that sound that's really interesting, and it's also like, unless it's a demonic angel, what is the? I find that shift really interesting. Also the harmony expanding there. All right, and then this is phase 2. I mean, that's so effective because of the unison. Bum, ba, da, ba, ba, bum, 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 bum. That rhythmic pattern is there, and it's consistent throughout, and so it feels like, holy fuck, like this thing is looking right at me. It's fairly three-dimensional, but it's also fairly like, well, that it is what it is, right? Like, it's very like on the nose, describing a terrible situation. We can get heady and intellectual about it, but in reality, Fatalis is not necessarily an intellectual being, and now Fatalis is mad at me. But there's a certain level of like malevolence that just kind of comes across there that pretty much sustains it for the rest of the thing. There's some really cool movement, especially with the when we start this section where the sopranos are over top and then the men are moving with instrumental underneath, which is also really effective as well. And then there's just the crashing down. That's just the devil. I mean, that's just the devil. That's horror strings. Hey! I love the way that the brass emphasizes that chorus. I can just picture like tail swings, and isn't that the general Fatalis? Or am I confusing that with Safajiva? I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, it's just a brutal piece of music, isn't it? I mean, it's definitely not like the most listenable piece of music, I would say. Like, that is just purely perfect in context. I mean, it's a visceral piece. It's not necessarily the kind of piece that I enjoy listening to. Like, it's not as listenable to me outside of context as like Shantian is, which is like, holy shit. Like, Shantian's theme is like next level cool. And if you haven't seen my video for Shantian, please check it out. I mean, it's literally an amazing piece of music. This one just feels very vicious, and it's a very oppressive piece with good intention. You know what I mean? Like, that's the purpose of it, is to be like demoralizing to a point. And I think it clearly succeeds. It succeeds. All right, next up we're going to check out Fortress of Turmoil, Citadel Battle Theme. That's from Rise Sunbreak. Hopefully I'll be able to finish Rise. I don't know that I ever will with Wilds coming out, but the cool thing about Monster Hunter is that you can kind of always go back and the games still kind of hold up. I'm currently on rank 7, heading over to All Mother Narwa. I don't know that I'll ever actually see All Mother Narwa. I know that I really kind of want to, but man, these rank 7 monsters are just devious, whether it's Tigrex or Magnamalo. Oh my god, Magnamalo punched me in the face yesterday, so I don't know that I'll ever get there, especially with Wilds coming out. But yeah, I'm curious to hear this. I've never heard this before. That's gorgeous. Key change. Wow. The forward momentum and the rhythm there is just amazing. I think it really like highlights the fact that this is a do or die situation. This is a moment in time that is so incredibly important that if something goes wrong, that is the end of like life itself. There's a real desperation in that. And it's interesting because forward momentum with doubled strings can mean many different things. But forward momentum in strings with, in this particular case, that really feels like, holy crap, we have got to hold this down because we are this close from this being the absolute end of humanity or what have you. The stakes feel extremely high. The pressure feels extremely high. When the cello comes in there, there's a natural like, what are we going to do? Like, there's a little bit of doubt that kind of pops up. There's some questions. There's some spinning a little bit. It's really interesting to hear it. Usually, if it's something really optimistic, you'll have horns, you'll have violins, you'll have the full orchestra kind of guiding you along. But a lot of the themes that we've listened to, and even the town themes, have this sort of quality of like danger or melancholy, or, you know, they're not necessarily optimistic. Listen, I mean, gorgeous like trombones and French horns in there. Now there's a little bit of optimism in the sound. You can hear it. It's going to shift again here in a second. Oh man, that's gorgeous. And we still have that same rhythmic pattern I mentioned. Isn't that cool? Listen to this. Listen to this little corner. I want to talk about this really quickly. Listen to how cool this is. It's all percussion. I mean, it's all rhythm. Like right there. Like that decay and that descent down really is bleak. It really, again, I mean, the overall theme, I think, for this is really like desperation. But the fact that the rhythm continues to move is just because you're getting assaulted at all times. Like there's just non-stop invasion. Like that's cool. As it gets lower and lower into the lower register of kind of just like landing in this like sort of like desperation of like of real desperate battle. And it's also really fun how horns, especially like French horns, they usually have such a warm tone to them that the French horns tend to feel very much like possibility or opportunity. They feel like nobility. They feel like possibility. They feel like hope. It's not like Proof of a Hero where it's like, you got this. It's like, oh, I don't know, but we're going to try. A little bit of doubt in that sound, especially in this particular case, but it just works. Yeah. dum, dum, dum. What a terrific piece. And then to get into the percussion there and really press into those as well. And then have the sforzando or the crescendo there into the horns. Also, it really places itself like squarely in this. It's interesting because it's like it's a battle, but it's almost slightly subdued. It doesn't feel like the final battle, but it certainly feels like a battle with incredibly high stakes. It's very tense. When I fought Nergigante, I fought him with a light bow gun. I was pretty comfortable. I knew exactly where to shoot. I used all my slicer ammo. I was great. Totally fine. Never fought an arc-tempered Nergigante. This is World's End arc-tempered Nergigante. I've never heard this theme. Did you hear that? Wait, hold on. This seems like it's the original Nergigante, but with a faster tempo with a little bit of different instrumentation. Do you hear the Astera theme there for a second? Hold on one second. Let me just rewind. Right there. Right there. Yeah, that's cool. There's a little bit of cat and mouse here. Bum, 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 bum. Dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. So it imbues the two themes together. Man, that's dope as shit. And then what's also really cool about this is that it does feel like cat and mouse. And it almost feels like if that's the case, if we recognize that that's the Astera theme, what's it, the fifth fleet? I think it's the fourth fleet. I don't know if it's all of the fleet against the arc-tempered Nergigante, but it feels like we represent the fifth fleet, if that's the case. But I really love the fact that we kind of just like molded in two. That's really cool. It really does feel like cat and mouse and a little bit like they're morphing into one almost. As if arc-tempered Nergigante like crashes into the Astera and crashes into and everyone's at all hands on deck or something, but it doesn't feel quite so it doesn't feel as vicious as that imagery is in my brain, but it's cool. Check this out. World One. Love the slide down that it just did. The heavy hits of the drums like cannon fire. That's cool. The way the trombones like that re-emphasize. Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. Hold on, what a cool way to highlight that theme. Hold on one second. Let me just rewind. I have like such a soft spot in my heart for that sound. Brum. I love this. Brum. It's so heavy. Bum. That beautiful accent with the lower brass there. Faster tempo. That has like a snowy sound to it, doesn't it? I mean, that's such a cool like little shift there, because it really oscillates super harshly between like the sheer brutality and power of Nergigante, which I thought was such a cool like flagship monster, and also my first, so like I had no frame of reference, so like Nergigante is like terrifying. Also the way that Nergigante gets introduced in Monster Hunter World, like, you know, riding on the back of Zora Magdaros, like all that stuff is so dope, but to have this theme so sharply oscillating between the two and mixing together is awesome. It really feels like each like entity is firmly placed within itself, and it won't let the other have any leeway. And then it kind of resets and pulls back here. But it's interesting, little things. I mean, here in the strings especially, you kind of hear like maybe Nergigante is not quite well. Like there's a little bit of a sense of like a little bit of tweaking in that sound too, which I find kind of interesting. Like the chaos of Nergigante is like dialed up to 10. I don't know what arc tempered means. I mean, I assume it's just like harder difficulty, but maybe there's like a lower reason for it. But you hear like there's something not quite right in that sound, you know? I love the brass, the percussion. Yeah, and I think that Astera theme is really like a responsibility to take care of the Fifth Fleet, to take care of those people that are working hard, that have been working hard for us, that have been helping us get better, helping us hunt, you know, our Palico. Like there's a sense of a really like responsibility in that sound that I find really interesting, especially to remix it. So yeah, what a terrific piece. I would never want to fight against an Arc Temper Nergigante, I'll tell you that much. You know, the next piece really doesn't require any introduction whatsoever. It's definitely one of the most famous pieces from Monster Hunter. I think you'll know it pretty much instantly. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Let me stop there. And you know, what's fascinating about the Khezu theme is really actually how terrifying it actually is. The stillness in the sound is incredibly powerful. And you may think, well, Marco, you're just being funny because you think it's clever, but in reality, like the silence is actually terrifying, isn't it? How many times do you sit there in silence and hear your own heartbeat? And I think that's why it works so well, is because, you know, the theme is built around the absence of sound. And besides the sounds of, Khezu's a terrifying monster. It really is disgusting. It's a deformity. It's dilapidated. It's viscous. It sticks to you. It's like it kind of permeates your subconscious in a different way than like a Fatalis does. But we shouldn't discredit Khezu. After all, Kezu is a creation of a nightmare. I think that's why Kezu's theme works so well. Now, let's stop and start again just so you can get what I mean. Check this out. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a pretty long piece, but I feel like that look. It's terrifying. It really is. It really is a terrifying theme. There's actually a Kezu, a plushie that I really want to buy, that I might buy as a celebration of Monster Hunter Wilds. Look how fucking cute that is. Who doesn't want that? Oh, it's even got the sucker. I should buy that. Anyway, I love that theme. Hopefully you do too. Bherna Village from Generations Ultimate. I think I just heard this. Let's check it out. Oh yeah, now that's nice. That's so beautiful. Oh, castanets. Da, da, ya, da, da. Jeez. That's such a gorgeous melody. I just want to stop there and state the obvious. Like, that is such a peaceful, warm theme. It's very interesting how there's an affection in that sound. There's really, like, the sound quality is that of like, come rest your weary loins. No, allow yourself to just be here and like take it easy. This is a place of comfort for you. The melody line, especially as it ascends, it really invites that sense of like, come on, like, we're all in this together. Like, you've worked so hard. I really like that. I really, really, really like that. Next up is Moonquake. Oh, Ceadeus' theme. Well, this has been very requested on the channel. Holy. Something absolutely incredible about this is just, so obviously I recognize the size of Ceadeus, but like one of the things that's really striking to me is the ever so slight vocals in the background. Just a simple little moment, a simple chant, simple repeated thing that kind of just comes in and fades out. But overall, like what it does is it lends itself to the idea of age. It lends itself to the idea of godliness, and it lends itself to the idea of size. Now, obviously, I know that Ceadeus is massive. There's a veneration in that sound that I think we don't often get per se. Shantian, it's sort of similar in my brain. Like Ceadeus and Shantian are kind of like neck to neck in terms of their like grandeur and size. Ceadeus is to be revered, whereas Shantian is to be feared. It was different than like Fatalis or Sophajiva, which are also feared, but they're also like menacing and menaces of their own kind. Like they're dangerous. Whereas like Ceadeus is kind of like a little bit more of an angry blue whale. The biggest mammal on the planet, right? Like colossal. If it touches you the wrong way, it's terrifying because this thing is massive and it will break you. It will break you at the smallest effort. There's this real like invocation of prayer towards it. Like it's not like it's not necessarily the desire isn't there to kill it. And if there is the desire to kill it, the desire is there out of reverie, out of like, I hate to put you down, but you know what I mean? Obviously, there's impetus. We hear that in the rhythm. You know what I mean? It's a responsibility that we have as hunters to take care of it. And that really comes across to me. It's also very like, there's a stillness in the sound, even though it has forward momentum, which I find really interesting. I mean, it's just, you hear the size. That terrific brass right there. Man. I mean, the sustains in here, I don't want to stop. God, it's really hard to stop in this piece because it's magic. Holy shit. I think this probably is the best, one of the best, if not the best Monster Hunter songs. I'm really kind of struck by it. Honestly, Monster Hunter Tri also has my favorite version of Proof of a Hero, so I think I'm like very partial to Tri's music. The things that I've heard, I'm always kind of left like what? Like I don't even have things to say about it because I'm just so like speechless. There's a sense of stretching in this sound that is just impeccable. The grandiosity cannot be rivaled. Like it really feels like you are suspended in the water, right? Like, and I understand that that's actually what's occurring. I've understood now that the lore is the horns are bashing into the side, potentially destroying the thing. You don't actually kill it, which is also amazing. Hoisting it up as like a demigod or a god of the land is really interesting. And it's something that, like, you know, talking about ecology and stuff like that, those are all like valid themes in Monster Hunter. And I'm really mesmerized by this piece. It's really gorgeous. And I love the constant rhythmic. Oh, it's like throat singing. Yeah. I just had this image of Ceadeus being like, get the fuck off my lawn. Like, it's such an impactful motif. Melodically speaking, da 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 da. Pretty simple actually in its direction. Now there's some really nice harmony in there that really lifts that up. But in general, it feels much more like a shout. It's much more of a primal scream. And to me, it's really like Ceadeus saying, "What are you doing here?" You know what I mean? Like it naturally is going to defend itself because you're in its space, and it's like get out. The stretching is suspending over the top. The sound quality there, it's not exactly throat singing, so forgive for saying that because it's not accurate, but the quality in that is just like it's incredible. I mean, and then too, just to stop there really quickly and say, it's cool because it goes very short. So we stretch out and then we quickly cut. So it's almost like we take time and then we cut. It's really, really interesting how we can push and pull a little bit. In music, it's called rubato, but that wasn't really rubato, but it's like rubare is to steal. So rubato is basically like stolen time and you make up for it. So you could theoretically stretch right past the bar line and go, Blip! And then you just continue on. It's pretty cool. That's interesting. That's a really interesting interval. See, but that too, I mean, the drums also, like, yeah, there's definitely a tribal quality there, number one. Number two, the intervals there are really interesting. They play into the religiosity of the piece and the sort of exoticism, and the idea of a deity also comes into play there. I find that to just be like such a terrific piece of, I mean, wow. Gorgeous chord there. Three voices. Oof. Oh man. And that's in Wyverian. I mean, and just from a singing perspective, another reason why that works so well is the straight tone. Straight tone with no vibrato is so visceral, and it really feels more like a primal scream than it does beautiful singing. The vibrato really makes a massive difference. If you don't have vibrato, it's always going to sound, ah! You hear the difference? There's a big difference there. Again, that sort of stretched out short. Man, the way that the three notes stack together, again, I mean, it's so cool to have the three voices into it. They come in at separate points, and it really like marches the idea of the stacking of the chord, whatever chord that is, stacking it like that. But it just hits. I mean, there's a big difference between one powerful voice, which is still incredibly evocative, especially with the upper register and the soprano register, adding the other two voices, the middle one, which is still kind of high, and then the lower one, which is really nice harmony for the other two, really sends home the message. It's very satisfying. I really don't hear a lot of people talk about the music of Monster Hunter, and I think it's a shame. In general, the videos that I see that are incredibly popular about Monster Hunter are usually like kill times and like, you know, doing things efficiently and tutorials, and those are all things that I think are really important to the series. I think we'd be hard pressed to deny how intrinsically valuable the music is to the gaming experience. And now I think most video games benefit from music. That's like just like the facts. Like that's my job. I have to believe that, because that's also like partly why I do what I do. I do think that Monster Hunter is different than a lot of other games where the soundtrack is so paramountly important to the storytelling experience. Again, that's like any video game, but for whatever reason, in Monster Hunter has a more direct need for it, because that's a whole personality of a character. That, and it also enhances the gaming experience to the point that it's like memorable. Like I can't even fathom being 10 years old playing Monster Hunter for the first time and hearing this. Now, granted, I had a great childhood with Final Fantasy and Metal Gear Solid and like, you know, all those games. But this coupled with the level of, not only that, but this coupled with the level of achievement required to get to this moment. And then you hear this, I mean, shit. You know what I mean? Like when I fought Xenoshiva in Monster Hunter World, huge. Pretty certain the biggest monster in base game, if I can remember correctly. I remember where I was, and I remember the experience of fighting Xenoshiva, not only because of its size and its stature, but also because whether or not I was thinking about it consciously or subconsciously, the music also played a huge part of that. You know what I mean? Like these monsters, it's not just like killing monsters for funsies. There's like a soulful connection that you experience when you're actively pursuing these things. And the thing is, these things take a lot of time. When you start in high rank, 28, 30 minutes is the norm. You know, when you get into master rank, same thing. When you get into, and then Basilgeist shows up, and that's like a whole other complicated part of the game. So all that to say, like, it's incredible how much music impacts this series more than I think people maybe understand. Stars on Our Backs is one of my favorite songs actually from the Monster Hunter series. I used to listen to it at the gym. It just hits you right in the like motivation, and it just feels so sweeping and so elegant. Like the start is pretty simple. It's pretty like low key. You know, it's kind of warm. It's gentle. And then we launch. Dun, 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 dun. The trumpets over top. like, come on, you can't help but feel just... God, those gorgeous horns over top. It's just like so like, job well done. You're home. You know, there's an invitation to celebration. You know. And then the percussion in here, dun dun dum, chaka dum dum. To me, that's almost as good as Proof of a Hero, and I definitely think that's actually superior than the Monster Hunter World Proof of a Hero. This theme really, Stars at Our Backs, really like sends home the message of doing something great. You know, it feels like achieving something insurmountable. It's not really violent. It's not really like harsh. It's just like, get out there, you know, it's a pat on the back and it just kicks you out and sends you out the door. And on top of that, I think like just the use of brass in this is just really exceptional. And then the melody itself is just really, really, really nice. We don't always get a strong melody in a piece. It depends on the nature of the monster. It depends on the nature of the area. But in this particular case, it just, I just love the feeling of opportunity and potential in that sound. It's absolutely amazing. As World has, even though no Monster Hunter game really it never really comes to an end. One has to really look back on Monster Hunter World really fondly because of how much it opened the doorway for many of us. I mean, this was the first Monster Hunter I ever played. Not so much Iceborne, but certainly Monster Hunter World. And regardless of that, I still have like, I feel a connection to the game. When I was playing Monster Hunter World, just as a little anecdote, I was playing it in the like throngs of being in an opera program that was brutal. And I would come home from this opera program and I would sit down and when Monster Hunter World came out, I just locked in, and I had never... Even like grinding, I think like the most I'd ever done was like in Destiny. I really was blown away by the gaming experience. The fact that you could kill these monsters, carve their skin, wear it, and just do that over and over and over and over and over. And I was obsessed, and I was so hooked. It was such a wonderful reprieve from the stress of the day. So I never actually heard Nay the Honor Is All Ours until well into my YouTube career. And I have to say, it's an incredible piece of music. Really incredible. And I sort of wanted to say farewell to Monster Hunter World with this one. The way it starts with the brass in here, the heavy emphasis on the percussion, and then the strings sustaining, Austera theme. Stretched out, sustained, growing and crescendoing, break, and then we kick in with a familiar theme, rhythmically. There's the motif. Glorious. Glorious, again, those French horns, the trombones. Tremolo in the strings. Austera in there, and the upper trumpet. Not dissimilar to Arc Temper Nergigante. Yada yada yada. Here comes the best part. Here comes the best part. At calling her spots. Ba, 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 ba. The strings supporting all of this beautiful horn work. Then we pull back. Snare drum in the lower section. Keep going. Crescendo. Back at it. Ba, ba, ba. A hunter must fight. And then we pull back again. Shut up, dog. And then we're back in. Again. Gorgeous horns. Horns are dominating this piece with this incredible accompaniment by the violins and by the strings and this forward momentum and the rhythm. Descending horns up top, trumpets. And then the strings take over and kind of guide us. It's such a profoundly good piece because it really keeps us on the edge of our seats, and it really, like, it's kind of harrowing, but at the same time, it is immensely pride-filling. Like, it makes us feel like we can achieve anything. It's not dissimilar to Proof of a Hero, and I think part of it is, like, I mean, what an incredible title. Nay, the honor is all ours. And you do feel like there's a certain degree of responsibility in this piece of saying, like, you know what, like, I've fought tooth and nail to get here. I'm not going to let anything get in my way. I have a mission to accomplish, and I'm going to accomplish it. Whereas, like, Proof of a Hero feels a little bit different. It's a little bit more like patriotic, a little bit more like this is who I am. This is what I do. This is like in the moment. I have to accomplish this. The call and response is beautiful too, because it's like the opposing force versus the opposing force. There's that power clash that we hear even now with like Arkveld's theme, where we're having clashing, we're having conflicts, but more than anything, I think that this piece really ends up being like, no, the hunter is going to win, and there's nothing that anything can do to get in our way at this point. And I love that. It's like such an empowering piece, and it just really like sends it home. Speaking of sending it home, I mean, there's simply nothing left to do but to put our hands over our hearts and rise for our national anthem, or at least sit upright for our national anthem. And, you know, I've been thinking a lot about what makes Proof of a Hero so good. And I mean, I think the John Williams-esque-ness of it certainly really takes the cake. I mean, there's a sense of valor in it. There's a sense of pride. There's a sense of loyalty. But really, I mean, in the first 20 seconds, we get this beautiful, essentially what is an overture of sorts. There's an overture of it as we sort of like, the sun rises on a new adventure, doesn't it? I love the way that the first 20 seconds start. So let's re-listen to them. So much possibility in that sound, opportunity, and not dissimilarly to Nay the Honor's All Ours, but different. I love the space and the tremolo on the strings. Crescendo and growth. And then we get the string section here, which actually pivots us away from the sharpness of the horns. Which is a really good juxtaposition. Back at it. Pushing forward with the timpani underneath. And then we really pull back. This is our responsibility. This is our journey. Such warm, inviting strings saying, hey, come join us, you know? Come join us. Just a bit louder than before. Kind of a nice sustain over the top as we descend down. And then we kind of just... Now what? You think it's over, but wait. No. Oboes and flutes say no. Back in it. The cascading down to the horns, the trombones. Descending trombones, climbing trumpets. Kind of pulls back again, resets, grows in crescendos, crescendo, crescendo. Classic, like, movie ending there. I mean, it's like so akin to John Williams, and I say that with like the most amount of homage and respect in my heart. Like, it's such a powerful piece of music of just rising up and facing the challenge head on. This piece could cure depression. Probably not, actually, but the possibility that it could motivate is so apparent, and it's just incredible. Every instrument has a part to play, and much like every hunter has a part to play, it's just a glorious piece of music. You know, it goes well beyond video games, and man, the day that I get to see this alongside some Beethoven piece will be the day that I just feel like my work is done and I can retire this YouTube channel, because it's just incredible, and so much Monster Hunter music deserves to be in the Symphony Hall, in the limelight, being heard by people all over the world, and I hope that day comes sooner than later. Thanks a ton, everybody. See you out there, hunters. Take care. Bye.